Hey, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Full Count MLB show brought to you by SportsMemo.com. Excited to be here with you today as we focus on three of the night's slate. Today's baseball slate, a smaller card on a Thursday than it would normally be. But I am joined today with two of my favorite people at the site, Iceman Jesse Schule and the exhaustively hardworking football guy over here, Eric Pauly. So glad to have you guys here today. How's everybody doing?
Doing great, Chuck.
Doing very, very well. Very happy to be here. It's been a while since I've been on the show, so very excited.
I'm excited, and stick around all week. Obviously, you want to watch every day, but that man right there will be hosting tomorrow, and we want to wish him luck as Joe D'Amico and Dion should be back next week. And I don't know if any of us have done enough to usurp them in their spots. Hopefully they're ready to just take over and we can go back to just wearing a different hat. But without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to talk about three games today. The first game we're going to discuss is the Battle of Pennsylvania. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they're going to Philadelphia to take on – no, I'm sorry. It's the Phillies that are going to Pittsburgh to take on the Pirates here. Battle of Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Phillies, who got two impressive and needed wins over the Braves at home this week, who are facing Zach Thompson. Phillies are almost 1-2 favorite here. It's about minus 190, minus 195, something in that range. Pirates plus 165 with a total of 7.5. So let's go over to Jesse Schule and see what he thinks about this. If the Phillies can keep this momentum going here, even without Bryce Harper.
Geez, the Phillies. I've been disappointed with them coming out of the All-Star break. So the Pirates have lost 3 straight, but they have actually covered the run line in 2 of those 3 games. They're going to be a huge home dog today with Wheeler going for Philly. But the Phillies wasted a fine performance from Wheeler in his last start. He allowed 1 run on 3 hits, striking out 6 in 7 innings, and the Phillies lost 6-2 in extra innings to the Cubs. Wheeler is better at home, a lot better at home. He's just 3-3 with a 4.50 ERA in 8 road starts. I'm looking at the Pirates team total here. I mean, as much as I think Philly is in disarray and Wheeler is better at home, I don't want to bet on the Pirates to win this game necessarily, but their team total is pretty low at 2.5 based on the fact that Philly's got their ace going. They're at home. Philly's bullpen stinks. I'm going to go Pirates over team total 2.5 as the best value for this game.
All right, so he's looking at the home team here. A quick follow-up, just because you mentioned that they're a big home dog, and we talk about this off air, but it's kind of like a taboo subject that people hate discussing, using the word value and juice and big and things like that. Tell us your thoughts, and we talked off air. Phillies are almost a minus 200 favorite. Do you ever see that as something that you would regularly want to be on? Is it a pick and choose your spots? Is it like Ralph will sometimes recommend that it's just an always auto play? What do you think about that, Jesse?
Well, if I'm going to lay minus 200 on a team, they better have a really nice winning record and a lot of advantageous trends to roll in with. I'm not a fan of laying that kind of price with a just because somebody's got their ace on the mound. Just let the Phillies got Wheeler going. That's basically the best thing you could say about them today, really. I mean, they haven't been playing very well. They don't have a great record overall. They're on the road. So this doesn't meet the category for me to lay that price, but I have no problem laying that price when I find it advantageous for myself.
Absolutely. And before we get to your breakdown, Eric, I don't know if you have any thoughts, if you take certain things into account when you think of a big favorite like this, or if it's more, Jesse said he's looking more at the favored team. What about looking at, a team that is like the Pirates that are going to be favored like your dogs like this, no matter who they're facing? What way would you attack that?
Yeah, so I think Jesse made a great point, right? When you're looking at a team that is holding a minus 200 or plus VIG on a matchup, and you need to break down why they're that favorite. In this game, for like Jesse mentioned, the Phillies are simply favorites just because Zach Wheeler's on the mound. that's not enough to get me excited and wanting to bet them as a big favorite. The Phillies are not playing the best baseball right now. They're not a great team. There are too many other factors that are built into that line that are not going to make me want to lay that. I generally don't like to really bet really over -175s. If you're telling me that there's a profitable strategy I'm missing out on, I will gladly take a deep dive into that and put it into my arsenal. But at the moment, I'm only looking to really bet higher juice lines. If we're talking about like a player prop of something that I really think is even at -200 should be around -300. So I generally stay away, but I'll definitely got to take a look into that if you two great handicappers are letting me know that it's something that has value.
Well, I think it's important to always do your due diligence on every play. But yeah, so I mean, I have a feeling you're not exactly jumping on the Phillies, but let's hear a little bit more of your breakdown on where you would look to play this game if you had that as an option.
Yeah, no, of course. So obviously, the great thing about odds maker these days, you're not just focusing on a total spread in the money line. You have a lot of other things that you can bet on. I actually love that angle on the Pirates team total, Jesse. I didn't even think about that prior to this. But looking at both teams, Pittsburgh's 2-8 in their last 10 with a 4.40 team ERA. Phillies trending down 5-5 last 10, 4.10 team ERA. And just to kind of emphasize how Philly has kind of been a little bit on a free fall. They have the 12th best OPS in the majors, but in July, they had the 20th best OPS. So like Chuck was saying, when they came out of that All-Star break, they did not come out as strong as a team in a chase for a playoff spot would, as you'd expect. Zach Wheeler, absolutely love his game. I mean, 2.78 FIP and ERA. I actually don't think I've seen that at all at any point this season, having the same exact FIP and ERA. Both of those are phenomenal, by the way, if you're not familiar with Philly independent pitching. Wheeler had last three starts. Two of them are great, but he got shelled against Toronto. You know, it happens to the best of us. He's not as good on the road, but it's not like he's really bad on the road. But something that really stands out to me is the fact that he has a .438 slugging percentage against. So if you can kind of get some base runners against Wheeler on the road with his 1.39 whip, you can definitely do a little bit more damage. But his FIP is still low because obviously he's a great pitcher. The Phillies are 4-4 in his road starts, so I am inclined to look at something as simple as, take the Phillies on the run line, big favorite, especially looking at Zach Thompson, who was shelled by the struggling Marlins in his last start, allowed 3 runs in just over 11 innings in his 2 starts even before that. He's bad at home. He's bad on the road. The Pirates don't really inspire much from many different places. I mean, they have the 26th best MLB OPS in the MLB at home. But I'm going to actually go in a similar route with Jesse, and I'm looking at the Pirates on the run line. They are definitely have the opportunity to keep this game close, and I think that at 1.5 runs, especially with the reduced vig, since the line is so high on the Phillies, that the Pirates are a good bet to cover the run line today.
I love some of the aspects that you guys brought up there. It's interesting, too, because this is a really weird week here where you have to take certain things into account. Vogelbach already left. There's a chance Brian Reynolds could be pulled out of the lineup, yanked from a game at any given moment, too, and that's a pretty big, piece that you don't want to not have if you're backing the Pirates to either score runs or the run line. Might not be today. There's a few more days left, obviously, but obviously the Pirates are showing that they're sellers. If they're going to do anything, Reynolds would be a piece that would be moving if they're going to move him. I'm sure it's not as definite as like Contreras and Happ or Luis Castillo here in Cincinnati, but I like that breakdown. So let's move on to the next game here, which I love. Shout out to James for this slate of games because of the way this all is unfolding. It's kind of amazing because we have another favorite that is as big or bigger than the one we just talked about in Philadelphia, and it's the Blue Jays hosting the Tigers. And Jesse and Eric both came together without any planning, saying that the Phillies were $2 favorites, basically because the pitcher on the mound. The Blue Jays objectively are $2 favorites in spite of the pitcher on the mound for them tonight, as Tyler Alexander from the left side will take on Yusei Kikuchi, who I know shout out to Ski Prophet. He's celebrating. He's dancing in the streets. Anytime it's been 3 weeks since he took the mound, and so I know that the second that he was announced, the bet was made. So let's go back to Jesse. This is his team. I want to hear what he thinks if this is the $2 favorite, in spite of the starting pitcher, that this is where he would attack.
Well, we mentioned the Blue Jays on yesterday's show, and the price was outrageous, -250 against the Cardinals in the final game of that series. And they ended up losing that game. The 7-game win streak ended yesterday. And as well as the Blue Jays have been playing, as hot as their bats have been, as you mentioned, you got Kikuchi on the mound. He's not the guy you want to turn to when you're looking to bounce back off of a loss. I looked at his numbers. I normally quote all the numbers for the pitchers, and his numbers aren't bad enough for me to use them on this show because it's not going to allow you to understand how bad he is. The numbers, they should look a lot worse, but the number that really matters, I know a lot of you young guys like to use BABIP and FIP and a lot of stuff that old guys like me have a hard time understanding. But the one stat that matters the most is W's and L's. And the Jays are 5-11 in his starts this season. And that says everything I need to know. No way I could lay that juice with the Jays today. Even with Tyler Alexander on the mound, 1-1, 5.06 ERA in 6 appearances on the road, mostly out of the bullpen. He hasn't really been used as a starter this season. And there is strong over trends based on the fact that we have 2 pretty subpar pitchers going today. You might want to look at the over, and the trends are 22-7 to the over in the Jays' last 29 home games. The Tigers have gone over in 8 straight against a team with a winning record. Like I said, no faith in either of these 2 guys on the mound today. Might look at the over.
Without giving anything too much away, I am going to go into some of those silly acronyms that Jesse hates, and I will say that I'm disappointingly, I'm far closer to Jesse's age than I am to Eric Pauly. So far closer, because I know everyone's age on this show. But I will read off to you his last 6 starts as far as his FIP goes, which is, for those that follow FIP, it's plenty. It's MLB worst, kind of by a lot, 15.12. Now, this is the same scale as an ERA. So if I say you had a 3.5 ERA, that's what an FIP is. 15.12, 11, 10.12, 14.12, 3.12, good for him, and then a 12.4. That's the ERA in his last 6 starts. And so I know that I wanted to do that right before Eric took the mic. So I'm sure you're wanting to lay or on a home run line minus 200 favorite, right?
Yeah, no. So I'm definitely not looking at a run line here, but I think it's hilarious how, Jesse's talking about the kind of old school approach and he didn't want to go into some of those statistics. But I am coming to the same exact conclusion because I am on the over as well, except looking at some of the more advanced statistics. So you want to talk about some stats that are maybe not bad enough, quote unquote, to say, well, what about a 5.82 FIP for the season? That is certainly something that is bad enough to talk about. Here, look at his ERA, 4.05. Okay, bad. You've seen worse. 1.29 whip. Okay, bad. You've seen worse. A 5.82 FIP is horrible. And Kikuchi, even though he's coming back from the IL, he obviously two of his last 3 starts, one of them he was pulled with the injury, but he's only gone 2 innings in those starts regardless. He's slightly better at home. That ERA goes up, but the FIP goes slightly down to a 5.67. The whip goes slightly down to a 1.22. But he has a 5.07 slugging percentage against at home this season, which is just honestly bonkers. He lets runners on. That means they're scoring. Tyler Alexander, he's been, like Jesse mentioned, mostly utilized in the bullpen, but he will be making a start. He only has 10.2 innings on the road this year, and his numbers, again, are laughable with a 5.06 ERA, a 5.58 slugging percentage against, and a 6.78 FIP. You can basically take it to the bank that Alexander is not going to go deeper into this game whatsoever, considering his reliever background and the fact that I believe he's going to be shelled relatively early. There's not much to say. The Jays are hot. They have a 336 batting average in their last 10 games. Of course, it might be a little bit skewed from that Boston beatdown that they put on the Red Sox the other day. Detroit is still Detroit, a 2.18 batting average in their last 10 games. Team ERA 4.66. Over. I'm loving runs in this game.
Yeah, I like attacking it in a different way because, like Jesse said, the Blue Jays are going to keep being this, and it's a little alarming or head scratching, as he brought up as yesterday's show. They're playing the Detroit Tigers, and the line is smaller than it was against the Cardinals. Yeah, it's a little bit head scratching. Makes you definitely not want to go after it in that direction. But yeah, so excellent work on that game. Let's go to our third one here. third game is here in, well, not here, but it features the Guardians from Cleveland going to Fenway with Tristan McKenzie on the mound facing. We've had talked on the show about some guys that have some great names. John Ryan loved the name Spencer Strider as a pitcher. Cutter Crawford is on the mound for the Boston Red Sox tonight. Guardians are a small favorite. It's about regular juice, minus 110, 115. And the total, I think, is sitting at 9. The umpire in this one, I didn't get to the umpire in the first two, but it's Scott Berry, which is actually something to take note of. But let's start with Eric this time. Look at what he thinks is going to happen with these two very underwhelming teams so far this season.
Yeah, so the Guardians, they're 7-3 in their last 10, batting average of 308, team ERA of 310. So they're kind of playing some great baseball. Now they're only 1.5 games back in the American League Central, so they're actually making some noise. Boston has been, and there's just no other word to describe it, over the last week plus. They've just been an embarrassing baseball team. As a Jays fan, I'm sure you're loving watching them falter out, Jesse, but they're under 500, 2-8 in their last 10. Of course, their ERA as a team is going to be a little bit skewed after that, again, what the Blue Jays did to them. But what really strikes me is that their team batting average is 216. They're not hitting the ball regardless of who's on the mound. And again, the fielding, it's like watching a Little League team play lately. But looking at this pitching matchup, I'm actually a big fan of Cutter Crawford, but more so am I a fan of Tristan McKenzie. I was actually one of the I followed him about 2 years ago when he kind of started coming up in the majors, and I've kind of fallen in love since with his pitching style, his flair, and I'm very, very happy to see him be very successful this season. Diving into McKenzie's numbers, 7-6, 3.11 ERA, and a .98 WHIP in 17 starts. His last 3 have been electric. He's allowed just 1 run. On the road, he has not been as good of a pitcher as he has been at home. ERA bumps up a little bit to 3.23. FIP goes up to a 4.6, which is not something you love, but young pitcher still getting better. But what interests me about Cutter Crawford is how he's been rough at home, but he's also just been flat out better as a starter. He's 2-3 in 14 total appearances, 5 of those being starts. His ERA is a 4.5, but his FIP is a 3.53. So he definitely does a little bit better on the advanced metric start. But the way Boston's been fielding, they might raise that ERA again and lower that FIP again if Crawford has a good game. But looking at this matchup, they're looking to potentially split the series. But I think that more so instead of looking at a side, I'm going to look at the under for this matchup. Crawford, again, has been fantastic when he starts, even though he has a little bit of a rougher go-around at home. The Red Sox have not been hitting. The Guardians also, they've been getting the bat on the ball. McKenzie is really just an exciting young pitcher, and though he's a little bit worse on the road, I expect him to kind of take advantage of a very much so struggling lineup. Give me the under 9.
All right, so Eric says go under here with a couple of pitchers that he likes and thinks that they can hold down those offenses. It's not, like you said, Red Sox have been nothing short of embarrassing. Hard to back them. It makes you wonder what odds makers put as far as being important for Devers, because without Devers, this is just he might be more important than just about anybody. And the numbers do show it, but geez. So let's see what Jesse has as far as this really, really close to a pick'em game here in Boston.
Well, I'm really glad that Eric didn't pick Boston here, because I'd worry about him if he did. And I'm looking at the price for this game, and I'm just wondering, who are these guys that are going to bet on Boston? I'm looking at it. Boston's 2-11 in their last 13 overall. Cleveland, on the other hand, has won 7 of their last 10. As Eric mentioned, they're just a game and a half out of first place. Two teams trending in absolutely opposite directions. Tristan McKenzie, 3-0 with a 0.34 ERA in his last 4 starts. He's allowed 1 run in those 4 starts, striking out 27 batters in less than 27 innings. And you got Cutter Crawford. He's got a cool name, Cutter with a K. All the power to him, but he's coming off back-to-back losses, 6 runs, 11 hits in 12 innings pitched. The kid might have potential, but Tristan McKenzie on the other side is like he's been quite dominant. He's had strung together a few dominant starts in a row, and potential to do that and actually doing it are 2 very different things. The injuries have taken their toll on Boston. Devers obviously is everything for the Red Sox, leading the team in average, home runs, and hits. But Trevor Story also leads the team in RBIs, and they've missed him with the injuries, with the pitching mismatch, and with the price. I just, like I say, I don't know how anybody can come up with Boston. I'm all over Cleveland here.
Yeah, and you brought it up, right? Vegas is like, please, can we at least get 30% of tickets on this team? Can we? It's like, it's gross, but they're at slightly plus money if they can try and forget the Blue Jays series and things like that. So everybody is in different ways thinking it's hard to back the Red Sox. I don't know what our record is on this show when everyone agrees, including the host, but I just and I promise to the clients of mine over the last couple of years that are watching the show, I did not put the two of them up to loving Tristan McKenzie as much as you guys know I love him, because every time he starts, I pretty much pick him. They're probably sick of it. So yeah, it's hard to imagine that the Red Sox are able to get through him. The only thing that worries me, as far as if you like the pitching matchup, is about 98% chance of rain most of the night in Boston. So it makes you wonder what kind of game you've got. Any amount of layoff, and you lose one or both starters, and so never all that fun. But it's time to get to our best bet segment here. So without further ado, let's start with Eric. I want to hear what his best bet is. I want to hear more about his thesis and see what else he's got going on over at SportsMemo right now.
Yeah, so thesis is actually the probably best way to describe what I have working on right now. But I have something huge that is that man hours are piling up. It's almost over. It's almost ready for release. But I've been working on a season win report for all 32 NFL teams. Basically, I take a deep dive into their 2021 season, their 2022 if they have new head coaches or their coaching staffs, their 2022 offensive outlook, 2022 defensive outlook, 2022 schedule outlook, and then an overall breakdown of how I think the teams are going to fare this season and deciding whether or not they're efficiently priced by the market, if they're undervalued or if they're overvalued. It's been a lot of fun because I absolutely love doing these kind of things, but it's definitely taken a toll on me. I probably should have started a couple of weeks ago, but I saved a little bit to the end. But definitely stay tuned for that because football season is right around the corner. On the premium side, though, for baseball, I've kind of been laying a little bit low because I've been dealing with a lot of football nonsense, which has been just really pulling stats, putting things together. But I have rankings for every defensive unit, head coach, offensive unit, as well as analysis. So I know it's a baseball show, but I'm very excited about that. But going at my best bet of the day, we're going to head back to the Toronto Blue Jays, Detroit Tigers game. I'm actually going to be going with a team total angle for the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm going to take them over 5.5 runs for this matchup. 6 runs is, of course, a lot for any team. I mean, the Blue Jays did it last night with a 6-0 win. Looking at the real angle for this, obviously the Blue Jays are on fire, and Tyler Alexander is not a great pitcher, but something to keep in mind for not only when you're capping this game, but all games is, yes, you could look at a pitcher and see how bad they are. Maybe a team's going to beat up on them. We also have to consider realistically how many innings they're going to pitch. There's no way that Alexander even makes it to the 3rd inning. And yeah, I want to jump all over these statistics and be like, look at his terrible 6.78 FIP on the road. The Blue Jays are going to clearly shell him all game long. But the reality situation is they'll shell him for 2 innings, maybe even only 1 inning, and then they're going to move on to the rest. But fortunately for Toronto, the Tigers bullpen and the rest of the pitchers they have going for them that's not named Tariq Skubal are very susceptible to getting mashed as well. Toronto keeping it with the over. They've been on fire. They're at home tonight, and I don't think the Tigers realistically have a chance. So over 5.5 runs, even odds. Let's go Jays tonight. I'll be rooting with you, Jesse.
Very, very nice. I like when the first game breakdown was maybe the full over and then save this play for your best bet. I love it. Yep. A couple different ways to attack this game. So let's hear what Jesse has going on over there. I know he's got more than just baseball. Let's hear what he's focusing on over at SportsMemo, football upcoming, as well as his best bet for tonight's slate.
Well, anybody who sees me at SportsMemo knows that the dog days of summer are my time to shine, and that's because of my success with the CFL and Major League Soccer. I am highly interested in both of those sports and highly profitable in both of those sports for several seasons in a row now, including this year. And my CFL game of the week goes tomorrow night. That is testing a 10-3 CFL run. You're going to want to get all over that. You're also going to want to get all over my best bet. Tonight, I'm looking at the LA Dodgers in Game 1 at Coors Field. And you look at this game and you think, well, the Rockies are a lot better at home than they are on the road. The Rockies hit left-handers very well. But you got Tyler Anderson going for the Dodgers. He is 10-1 with a 2.79 ERA. He's only lost one game this season. Guess who? He lost to the Rockies. And the Rockies are batting .353 over 86 at bats against Anderson. So, I'm making a case for Colorado, but as Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friends. Jose Urena is going for Colorado. And this is another prime example of the stats not telling the whole story. You look at his record, 1-2, 3.13 ERA, and you're thinking, geez, for a guy that pitches in Colorado, that's not too bad. But you dig a little deeper, 4 starts. Colorado has lost 3 of those 4 games. His last start was his worst. He allowed 6 runs on 6 hits, a home run, walked 2 in 5 1/3 innings against Milwaukee. In total, for those 4 starts, 24 innings, 23 hits, 10 walks, and 14 strikeouts. That's not getting it done. That ERA is way too low right now. It's going to balloon up, and he's probably going to get rocked again tonight, given the Rockies' history of battering around left-handers. You got the Coors Field phenomenon, and you got a struggling pitcher for Colorado. I'm taking over 6.5 for the first 5 innings.
I like it there, and you touched a little bit on wins and losses. 10-1 is not necessarily something that is impressive at all, and I like that you were mentioning with the Rockies and everything there too. So Jesse says get after a bunch of runs early on tonight in Coors, and I like it. I'm going to go and focus on Shohei Ohtani tonight, who Angels – we usually bash on the show, and that's what we've spent a lot of the time doing. They're going to take on the Rangers tonight. Ohtani's on the mound. Spencer Howard is on the mound for the Rangers. Yesterday, the Angels got a 4-0 shutout win. And the first aspect of this under 7.5 was going to be the mere fact that it's a 7.5 total. In an AL game with a DH now, and everyone's going to look at that and just think, this is easy pickings on the over. Give me that 7.5. I just need 8 runs. 11 times this season, the Angels have shut a team out. And the following game, the under is 10-1 in those games. The average is they average scoring less than 3 runs in the following game, and they barely average allowing over 3 runs in that game. Spencer Howard similarly is in a spot where the Rangers have 12 spots in this exact situation as a divisional road dog, and they are 3-9, 9-3 to the under, 3-9 to the over, and you're getting a double VMI spot here where one team has a -8, the other one has a -3, which are both those visual memory indexes. Ohtani has been scorching hot, at least on the mound. Jeff brought this up. He was doing it. We were bashing the Angels over and over, and then he was talking about how he did an article on the MVP race, and Trout and Ohtani are both in the top 5 for the AL MVP race, and it's kind of comical what the word valuable means in there. But both these guys, I think, the lineups are pretty poor. Obviously, the Angels just can't seem to put up any runs. Even when they're dominating teams, they're winning 4-0 or so. And so I just think if I didn't just see the 7.5 and immediately want to bet the under, like I say about 7 and 7.5 or 9 and 9.5 with the over, it's just kind of an auto play. You're going to get in this spot, just in this season, it's about a 65% return on investment to go on the under, to combine these two teams. And so the value's all over that under. And I think this is a 3-2, 4-2 type ceiling. And hopefully we cruise to a nice, easy, no extra inning type game. And so that's our best bets, and that's our show. Like I said at the outset of the show, tomorrow, Eric Pauly will be hosting. And so make sure you tune in for that. Check us out at SportsMemo. Make sure you subscribe and hit notify me anytime we do a new video, so you get that the second, you get information as soon as the show is going to start. And we will be back every day. And so let's hope for a winning Thursday and go into the weekend with more cash in our pockets. Thanks so much, and see you tomorrow.